All right, so this is our final day of the chain rule, lesson 19. Very short and sweet. And again, as I mentioned, this is not even going to be on the partner quiz. Well, you'll see this again later in chapter 2. So using the chain rule to find tangent lines and second derivatives, that is the goal of today. So first, find the equation of the tangent line. We know how to do that. It's just been a minute. To the given graph at the given point. So here is my f of x. When I give you this ordered pair, I am giving you the POT. That means I am giving you the x comma y. If you wanted to confirm that that was the POT, everywhere there's an x, put a 1 or a negative 1, calculate, and you should in fact get that the y value is 27. Once you have the POT, you also need what? The SOT, so that's the slope, which comes from the derivative. When you go to take the derivative, don't forget the chain rule. So if my f is 2x squared plus 1 cubed, what's the outside function? The cube. So I'm going to take the derivative first by working from the outside in. So f prime of x, I'm going to bring down that 3. I'm going to take the whole thing to the 1 less power, which would be 2. Then I'm going to make a chain by multiplying times the derivative of the inside. What is the derivative of the inside? And that's it. So my derivative, complete with the chain rule, is 12x. I'll multiply the 3 times 4x. And then 2x squared plus 1 squared. Again, do not FOIL that out. You do not have to. Factored is better. In order to now find the SOT, you are going to find the value of the derivative at negative 1. So in that equation, everywhere there's an x, you're going to put a negative 1. So that's going to give me a negative 12 on the outside because 12 times negative 1. Inside, this is 2 times negative 1 squared plus 1, the whole thing squared. So f prime of negative 1 equals, again, I have that negative 12 on the outside. Let's calculate this guy. So negative 1 squared is positive 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then what's 3 squared? 9. So the SOT is negative 12 times 9, which you'll have a calculator if you need it, is negative 108. Doesn't matter how big or small or fractionally or decimally these numbers are. It really doesn't matter at all. And of course, this is your M. Once you have your X, your Y, and your M, give yourself a nice fresh copy of Y equals MX plus B. 27 goes in for the Y. Negative 108 goes in for the M. Negative 1 goes in for the X plus B. A negative times a negative is a positive 108. And again, rest assured, you may have a calculator on your homework, test, or quiz. So 27 minus 108 is negative 81. That is your B value. And then again, please don't do all that great hard work and then lose half a point for not putting it all together. What is my final equation? Y equals, what's M? Negative 108. Don't forget the X minus 81. So that is the equation of the tangent line to that graph at that point. You have probably done like 35 of these this year. I just wanted to do one with the chain rule. Don't forget the chain rule is still a thing now for whatever the problem has to be, whether it's a regular derivative or an equation of a tangent line. So any issues with number 1? Again, just don't forget the chain rule. I even remind you on the quiz. And again, if you're taking it with a partner, which remember, if you prefer to do it alone, that's fine. Start thinking today about who you might like your partner to be. Hopefully between the two of you, you'll kind of be able to help each other. The last 2 problems, find the second derivative using the chain rule as needed. The second derivative just means take the derivative twice. We did that a little bit earlier in the chapter when we went from position to velocity to acceleration. Now, take the derivative once with a chain rule, simplify, then take the derivative again, use the chain rule if you need to, and then simplify. So sometimes second derivatives are no harder than first. Sometimes they are a little harder. So let's do the easy one first, number 2. If I were going to ask you to take the derivative of number 2, you could do the quotient rule, but I would not recommend that. I would instead suggest you rewrite this problem by leaving the 8 where it is. And then how do I get the guy from the bottom up to the top? Make it a negative exponent. On Thursday, quiz day, try to make your life as easy as possible. Okay, so now from here, I am going to take the first derivative. So it's the same as always. So f prime, the outside function is the negative 2, so that comes down first. So negative 2 times 8 is negative 16. You're going to take the entire thing to the 1 less power. What's 1 less than negative 2? Negative 3. Then make a chain. What's the derivative of the inside? 5. Before you go to take the derivative again, simplify. So this is still f prime. Yes, I'm going to multiply 5 times negative 16. That is negative 80. And again, calculators are available to you at any time, so not like you have to do that in your head. As a reminder, while you don't want there to be a negative exponent in your final answer, we do just want to leave it here for now because we're going for round 2. So from the black to the red, that's the first derivative. Now go one more round. So this is called f double prime. That means second derivative. And now just do it again. So the outside function is the negative 3. Drop the negative 3 to the front and multiply. That becomes a positive 240. Take the whole quantity to the 1 less power, which is negative 4. Do the chain rule again. What's the derivative of the inside? 5. And in your final answer, which again is f double prime, because this is the second derivative, you're going to do 5 times 240, which is 1200. Then you're going to drop the orange to the bottom. And when you drop the orange to the bottom, it becomes a positive 4 exponent. Bless you. That is your second derivative. Yes. When it says take the second derivative. No, it's a fair question. Fair question. And again, I already told you I'm not going to put second derivatives on the quiz tomorrow because we have so much more in chapter 2 for when we get back from break. Just so you know, you can keep going, take the third, fourth, fifth derivative, but it doesn't mean anything after the second derivative, so we don't actually go any further. In chapter 3, you'll get to see what do all these derivatives mean. But again, after the second derivative, it doesn't really mean anything, so we don't really go further than that. Any questions on that? Okay, one last one then. And again, this is a great review for the quiz, even though you're not going to be doing second derivatives, just this practice of taking derivatives is good, okay? So f of x equals the sine of x squared. If I was to ask you what is the outside function, what would you say? The sine, okay? And again, just to be clear, this is not a product rule because you're taking the sine of x squared. You have to take the sine of something. So if this was the sine of x squared times, I don't know, 5x, that would be the product rule because they both have x's. This is just a sign problem because you have to take the sine of something. That's something that I saw a few of you having issues with over the last few days. So hopefully that helps to clarify. So that was f, so f prime. You're going to take the derivative from the outside in and then use the chain rule. So the derivative of the sine of something is the cosine of the same something. You do not change that x squared. The derivative of sine of x squared is cosine of x squared. Then you do the chain rule times the derivative of the inside, which is, okay, it's all right. You could leave it like this, although based on what we've been doing, we've mostly been putting the x's in the front. So again, if you want to just rewrite this, this would be 2x times the cosine of x squared. So take a minute to look at that. Does it make sense? Any problems, any questions, any issues? Okay. If I now tell you that you're going to take the derivative again, you do have to use the product rule because now you have this guy, he's your F, and you have this guy who's your G. So this is as annoying as it gets when the second derivative leads to the product rule. Again, not going to be an issue for the quiz, could be an issue in the future. But regardless, what if this was just the problem on the quiz and I said take the derivative? You would have to use the product rule. So let's review. Okay. Again, if you're past the FF prime stuff, great, but I really don't think it hurts to do it. So let's call F 2x. What would be the derivative of F? 2. G would be the cosine of x squared. The derivative of the cosine of x squared, what's the outside function? Okay, so cosine, so negative sine of the same something, then make a chain, 2x. And again, if you want to just simplify that bad boy to make it look a little nicer, negative 2x times the sine of x squared. Because there's a negative here. Like the derivative of a cosine is a negative sign, so I just multiplied those together. Any problems up to here before we finish? Okay, remember what it is we're doing? We're finding the second derivative, so let's call this f double prime. Okay, whether you've memorized the product rule like I have or you have to use your sheet, doesn't matter. It says you're going to start with f, which is 2x, times the derivative of g, which is negative 2x, sine of x squared. And if you want to put that x squared into parentheses, you can. Fine without it. So that's f times the derivative of g plus g cosine of x squared, again, with or without parentheses, dealer's choice, times the derivative of f, which is 2. Let's clean this up a touch. Simplify this first guy, simplify this second guy. So in the first one, I'm going to multiply a positive 2x times a negative 2x, which gives me negative 4x squared sine x squared, again, with or without parentheses, dealer's choice, plus 2 cosine of x squared, again, with or without parentheses. That would be an amazing, perfect final answer. Or if I told you to factor it, what's the only thing that you could factor out of both? A 2 or a negative 2. So let's say you factor out a negative 2. That would give you a positive 2x squared sine x squared minus cosine x squared. And again, the truth is I would take either of those. And that's it. So 1 tangent line and 2 second derivatives. You are not going to see problems that say find the tangent line or find the second derivative on the quiz, but the skills that we just reviewed, those you will see. So let me just stop the recording. Hold on, let's make sure I did that right. Obviously, yes. Okay. Stop the recording.